Hello, 5th and 6th grade. This is your history video for Wednesday, February 24th. And we have three work text pages to do, but all of them are study guides. Well, two of them are study guides. Actually, I think all three of them are. Actually, the backside, 168, is not a study guide, it's a map. And so these questions should be ones that we've done. You're not doing 164 yet, but you will tomorrow. So don't think, oh, I'm done, I can just turn in. No, you can't. So we'll be doing that one tomorrow. That will be part of your assignment tomorrow, along with 169. And then I think you have 168, really strange, 167 on Friday. And then we'll have a test next week. I think we also have a quiz coming up, and we'll have done our quiz today already. So from the one that we were supposed to do yesterday, but we'll have a quiz on Friday. And then you'll have your test on Monday. Don't forget, each day, as we do get pages finished, we will be grading them in class, trying to get everything back to you quickly, graded, so that you know what to do with it. So, all right, let's go ahead and start our reading. And pages number 229 to 231, it says, the height of the Byzantine Empire. The Byzantine Empire had its best and most powerful years between 850 and 1050. Was strongly influenced by the Hellenistic culture. Some historians consider this time a second golden age in history of the Byzantine Empire. During this time, sorry about that. The emperors successfully fought their enemies on the Balkan Peninsula and in the Middle East. Some rulers helped develop the empire's government and culture. Emperor Michael III reorganized the University of Constantinople. Basil I oversaw the revision of the law. The empire also became wealthier from its trade throughout Asia, Europe, and Africa. Christian missionaries from Constantinople traveled through Eastern Europe in the 860s. The missionaries helped standardize the language, ethics, laws, and political patterns of the people, including the Bulgarians and the Slavs. Two missionaries, Cyril and Methodius, translated the Bible into Slavic. Because the Slavic people did not have a written language, the missionaries had to develop an alphabet for them. The work of these two missionaries gave thousands of people the opportunity to read the gospel for themselves. The Bulgar Slayer. Basil II became emperor in 976. He devoted his life to making the empire stronger. His army was well trained, and he made the nobles pay their taxes. He kept the church from taking land from the peasants. He was one of the best managers the Byzantine government ever had. Basil II was also a warrior. When the Bulgars attacked the empire, he led an army in defeating them. He captured 14,000 Bulgarian soldiers. Because of this victory and his harsh treatment of the captives, Basil II was often called the Bulgar Slayer. Another Muslim advance. Because Basil II never married, he had no heir. After his death in 1025, no other emperor was able to run the government the way he had. The empire had been experiencing victories and expansion. Now the empire faced new obstacles. Venice, an Italian city, took over much of the trade that used to come through Constantinople. New enemies attacked the empire. These invaders included the Normans from northern Europe, the Pechenegs from Russia, and the Seljuk Turks, a group of nomadic warriors from Central Asia who had converted to Islam. The Byzantines especially feared the Seljuk Turks, who had defeated them at the Battle of Manzikert in 1071 and captured Jerusalem from the Fatimid Caliphate in 1073. Concerned for the ability of their empire to withstand this new threat and worries about the safety of the holy places in Jerusalem under these new rulers prompted the Byzantines to seek help from the Western Christians. Next page, the Crusades. This is your secret word. The Crusades began in 1095. Pope Urban II issued a call to the Knights of France. He wanted them to free Jerusalem from Islamic rule. They responded with several military expeditions known as the Crusades. The soldiers were called Crusaders. That makes sense, doesn't it? The first three Crusades. In the first Crusade, the Crusaders were able to capture Jerusalem in the summer of 1099. However, the Muslim Turks continued to invade the land of Palestine. Neither the Second Crusade nor the Third Crusade ended successfully for the Byzantines. In July of 1187, Muslims regained Jerusalem. The Fourth Crusade. When Innocent III became the Pope in 1198, he made it his primary goal to reclaim Jerusalem. Within a few years, he organized the Fourth Crusade. At this time, the Muslim Turks controlled the Middle East from Egypt to Syria. The Crusaders planned to gain control of Egypt. They believed that their success in this wealthy center of trade would divide the Muslim power. Crusaders made an agreement with the Navy of Venice. The Venetians were to supply ships, and the Crusaders would supply the army and money. The Venetians kept their part of the agreement. However, as time wore on, it became apparent that the Crusaders would be unable to supply the huge army and necessary money for success. Oh, excuse me again. Late night here. All right. The Venetians convinced the Crusaders to attack the city of Zara, even though it was a Christian city, to capture the needed money and resources. After they conquered Zara, the Crusaders received a new proposal from a prince who claimed to be the rightful heir to the throne of the Byzantine Empire. He offered money and men for the crusade if the Crusaders would help put him on the throne. The prince wanted to take the place of the Byzantine Emperor Alexius III. The Crusaders accepted the offer and headed for Constantinople with the Venetians. Emperor Alexius III learned about the treachery. He rallied support to oppose the prince. When the Venetians and the Crusaders arrived at Constantinople, the Byzantine army resisted them for several days. However, the Crusaders were eventually able to take the city. Alexius fled into exile. Okay, so the lasting consequences there, you see this. We'll finish the reading there at the bottom right after we read this part, with a picture of the Pope and the Patriarch Bartholomew I. But it says here, the actions taken by the Crusaders have not been forgotten. Pope John Paul II tried to mend the lasting bitterness. In June of 2004, he apologized to Patriarch Bartholomew I of the Eastern Orthodox Church for the actions of the Crusaders in April of 1204. How can we not share, at a distance of 8 centuries, the pain and disgust? And you see how people hold grudges, and especially religiously. It's happening. It's been throughout the time of history that has occurred. A group of Byzantine churchmen and senior nobles offered their submission to the Crusaders. These Byzantines were hopeful for a peaceful takeover. Their hopes were in vain. Over the next 3 days, the Crusaders plundered the city, including the churches. They divided the Byzantine lands and goods among themselves and their Venetian allies. Pope Innocent III condemned the actions of the Crusaders, but it was too late to prevent the destruction they caused. The results of the Crusades for Europe. The main result of the Crusades for Western Europe was change that helped lead to the decline of feudalism. Nobles needed large amounts of money to join crusades. This need caused 2 developments. First, many serfs were allowed to buy their freedom. Second, kings gained in power as nobles became weaker financially. Many freed serfs moved to towns. Towns grew as a result of the renewed interest in trade that the Crusades had helped to prompt. Their growth helped change the focus of Western Europe's economy from agriculture to trade and industry. Stronger kings led to stronger central governments and the development of the modern nation-state. The recovery of the Byzantine Empire. The Crusaders never did go to Egypt to fight. From 1204 to 1261, the Venetians and the Crusaders ruled Constantinople. It looked as though the Byzantine Empire had come to an end, but the empire had not been completely destroyed. Some Byzantines fled to Asia Minor and organized a new empire. Its capital was Nicaea. For over 57 years, the new empire fought the armies of both Constantinople and the Turks. The emperors at Nicaea worked hard to strengthen the revived empire. One emperor, John III, 1222 to 1254, promoted political and legal reform. He helped the poor by founding hospitals and charitable institutions. His government built churches and gave land to its soldiers. The government also encouraged the improvement of agricultural methods and raising livestock. To protect the people, John III built the system of fortifications and frontier defenses. By 1261, the empire at Nicaea, under the leadership of Emperor Michael VIII, had strengthened its army enough to attack and recapture Constantinople. Michael entered the city on August 15, 1261, and within weeks was crowned emperor in the Hagia Sophia. He moved the capital back to Constantinople and spent vast sums of money to rebuild and beautify the city. All right, well, that's your reading for today, and don't forget about that secret word that was in there. And hopefully you got it. If not, you'll have to go back and listen to it about halfway back. Not exactly sure. I didn't look at the time. But have a good day, and crusade to you. Bye.